Hi, and welcome to the Comfy Red Couch. My name is Tracy, and I'm your host. And as often happens on the Comfy Red Couch, here is the puppy dog lying right behind me. Scout has decided that that is the perfect spot to sit while I chatter away about knitting and what I've been up to this week, which has mainly been knitting, which has been a really fantastic thing. So as I said, this is the Comfy Red Couch. This is episode 47. We are coming up on a year of the Comfy Red Couch, which just blows my mind how quickly time goes. So I believe the Easter weekend, it will be my 1-year podiversary, and just a very nice little milestone to reach. It is a beautiful sunny day in Toronto, and there is not any snow on the ground today, which is a great thing. Although this past week I've been watching the snowflakes doing that weird sort of dance upwards. So it's been snowing, it's been cold, but it's sort of been blowing around all around, not really coming down to the ground as much, and goes up in the air. It's a very strange thing to watch, but certainly not as strange as seeing everyone in England dealing with snow in the middle of March, where, you know, the flowers have all come up. We haven't even really had any crocuses that I've seen yet, so strange. I think Mother Nature has gotten very, very confused lately, so who knows what's happening. In Toronto, it is not unheard of to get snow into April, and I usually find by April 10th, the last snowfall has fallen down, although sometimes it does sort of play tricks with you. I'm not holding my breath that winter is over yet, but I am certainly looking forward to spring and starting to see all the flowers come up. And I've been talking about that for a while because I much prefer spring over winter time. Now that I've given you my obligatory weather update, it's now time to tell you where you can find me. So on Ravelry, you can find me as TracyRR, and on Instagram, you can find me as Comfy Red Couch. And for anyone who is new to the podcast, welcome. I hope that you have a chance to just sit down and see what I'm all about, and I hope that you enjoy what you're about to see. And for returning viewers, welcome back. Thank you for joining me for episode 47. I always enjoy having you. I know that you know the drill. You've got your cup of tea, you've got your project bag, and you're ready to hopefully sit down and listen to some lovely knitty news as to what I've been up to. And this week I have been up to a lot of knitting. I had a week off of work and lots got done, which was a really fantastic thing, and I'm really excited to share that with you. But for now, let's grab our cup of tea and let's start tea time. And today I am drinking out of my Anthropology cat mug, and this is a mug that my husband bought me back in early summer last year, and it has a very, very hot tea in it right now, and I decided that I was just going to grab one of those little envelopes that I often get with some of my yarn purchases. So today I am drinking Tazo chai, and it smells really, really nice, and it's a great way to use up some of those bags of tea that you often get in the mail. And today I just sort of felt like chai because it's a nice sort of warming in the tummy type of tea. I was originally thinking I was going to have hot chocolate and put some marshmallows in it, but I wasn't feeling it this morning. Yesterday I was wanting hot chocolate. Today I just want nice warm tea that is sort of that nice homey feeling. So that's what I am drinking today. I hope that you are enjoying what you are drinking, and cheers. Let's get started talking about knitting. Nice. I might just be here for a little while longer. My goodness, it was a good knitting week. I recommend taking a week off every once in a while and just knitting, because I got so much done, and I got so much sock stuff done, which was just really amazing. And I have 2 finished objects to share with you. I have a half-finished object, and in my regular knitting, I have an almost finished object to share with you. So I'm really excited to show you all the things I got up to this week. And the first thing I'm going to share with you, I can't share a lot about because it is a test knit. I did tell you a tiny little bit about this bag last week. This is my Yarn Magpie bag, and inside is the Sock Society, the second pattern, and I've gotten the cuff done. So not much has been done on this, but a start. The yarn is wound, and it has its project bag. It's ready to get a little bit more love this week now that some other things are off the needles. The next thing I'm going to share with you is this one here, and this is in my other Yarn Magpie bag, and this is a test knit that I'm doing for Jane of Hedgerow Yarns, and I am about 20% done. I am using a one-of-a-kind DK, and I'm using a fun mini. I'm going to have to get another mini wound up to do the toe because I wasn't sure whether I was going to do heels, toes. I ended up deciding I'm going to do cuffs and toes, and so this is the DK pattern that Jane is writing up. She had put a picture on her Instagram, and I said if you needed anyone to test it, I'd be happy to do so. So I've got the cuff done, I've got the leg done, I have worked the heel flap, and now I'm just waiting for the next set of instructions as to how Jane would like her heel done, and then of course the foot and the toes. So I made pretty good progress. This was a night's worth of work. My goodness, DK socks work up so quickly, as do worsted socks, so fast. So maybe next week I'll have a little bit more to share on this. It depends when I get the next set of instructions. And just a lovely little relaxing knit, and was able to do it while we watched some TV. So that was a nice way to spend an evening with some owls and some lovely hedgerow yarn. The next thing I'm going to share, I shared last week, and this was my surprise cast on the Friday before my break started, and I have it in my fun little bird leg bags box bag, which I love these bags. And I was using some Knit Picks Felici right there in the Punch Bug colorway. And I'm going to actually jump a little bit forward into my brown paper packages segment because I got something in the mail on Monday, crinkle, 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 that was perfect for this project. And these are some fun, super bright colored minis that came in the mail. And if you buy yarn from this company, you are going to have a very hard time believing which company this is, because this is the Wool Barn. And the Wool Barn usually has these beautiful, soft, demure colorways, and instead we got some brights. Now you will notice that there are only 4 minis and a bit of a space, and that is because I broke into one of the minis. And my goodness, is this not just a fun, hot magenta color? So we had these fun, bright minis, Tropicana, I believe they were called, the Tropicana Classic Mini Set. So fun for heels and toes. I broke into my Tropicana set, but kind of a necessary thing when you see how well this mini goes with my sock and the Knit Picks Felici. Just a perfect arrival at the right time. Last Sunday, I talked about going to the movies and casting on my Knit Picks Felici, and I shared about this much knitting with you to the middle of the dark blue. And that's how much I got done in the theater and then when I got home. And then I wanted to leave it so that I could show you on the podcast. And then as I was editing and uploading and all of the things involved with putting the podcast up every week, I just kept knitting in the round. And at one point I decided, you know what, I'm going to try an afterthought heel. And I wasn't sure exactly what minis I was going to use for the heels and toes, but I knew that I had that Wool Barn one coming, and I wondered if it would be close, and oh my gosh, it is just perfect. So I kept knitting and knitting and knitting, and I think Sunday night I got to around here. And then Monday I got that package in the mail, which was perfect timing, and I kept going and then put a toe on. And then Monday night I cut my knitting and I put a heel on. So I have a half finished object, and I was a little bit nervous about cutting into my knitting, of course. And I did watch the curly whirly video that Tracy from Nora George Yarns had recommended on her last podcast, and it was really great. I was a little nervous too because I have taken some workshops with Kate Atherley, and we talked about afterthought heels and how the instep isn't as wide and the socks don't fit as well. So I was a little bit nervous about doing all of this knitting and then going and trying it on and finding that it was just too tight or too uncomfortable. But they do seem to fit okay. Isaac was very disappointed that they did not fit him, but I did a 64 stitch count, and I think I'm going to do a 72 stitch count for him, and I might try and do a parrot as well. I do not think that the afterthought heel is going to be my go-to from now on. It was certainly fun to do, but I really do prefer the fit and just the process of doing the heel flap and gusset, but I do love how my stripes are perfect, which is one of the benefits of doing an afterthought heel. I just don't like the look of how the heel looks on an afterthought, but they fold nicely, which is also a really great thing. So I finished this Monday night, and I did cast on my second sock, and I am to here, and I'm using my Storm Cloud Progress Keeper again, and I did go through the yarn and I matched it up fairly closely. This one's a little less of the bright pink than this one, but it will be close enough that if I follow the same, this one might be a tiny bit longer, but I'm not going to care about that. I'm more concerned about the stripes matching, and then that also allows me to figure out where to put the heel in without too much worry, and then how far to go down to the toe to have them be a pretty perfect match, I think. So we'll see how that goes, and this will be my new in the morning when I get to work knit, because it's just straight rounds, really simple, and I think I have a project I'm going to be working on today while I'm editing and uploading, and once I finish that, then I think I might go to this project, but we will see. But for now, I have a half-finished object, which I am just loving the fact that my yarn and my heels and toes just providential. So very happy about that. And let's put this away for now and move on to the next project. My next two projects are actually finished objects, and they are by the same designer. And I'm going to start off with the project I finished last, and that is in my fun little bobbins bag. And if you've tuned in before, you know these are my Cyril socks, and Danielle George, who is Little Bobbins, designed this pattern, and I had one done but unblocked for the past couple of weeks, and I now have two done, and they are lovely blocked socks. I've got them up on Ravelry, and I've also put a picture on Instagram as well, and I'm so excited to start wearing these. These are knit in Wonderful Viola Sock, which is one of my all-time favorite yarns to knit with. It is so soft, and I am using the Rose Gold Dust colorway, and just it comes alive as you knit it. It's just so beautiful to knit with, and there's lots of little speckles that pop out at you. And so this is Cyril, and Cyril is half of the vintage love story, and just Cyril was a lovely sock to knit. If you've tuned in before, you've seen that I've teased you a little bit with this project bag. And there was a really fantastic reason why I was doing that. And that is because this held an amazing test knit. And Danny of Little Bobbins trusted me with her Rita pattern. So we have Cyril here, and the past few weeks I have been hiding the fact that I have had the opportunity to knit up Rita. And Rita is gorgeous. And I knit Rita on this beautiful yarn from Elm Tree Yarns, and this is the Toasted Marshmallow colorway. And so when Danny had asked if I would test knit, and I of course said absolutely yes please, and please to any future test knits in the future, because the patterns are beautiful, they're well written. I just knew I wanted to use an Elm Tree Yarns yarn, and well, I was thinking pink and green originally. The Toasted Marshmallow colorway came into my brain, and this was it, and it has a beautiful sparkle to it. And if you have seen the Rita pattern, it has a diamond pattern on it. Are you ready for gorgeousness? This is Rita, and I am really hoping I can catch the sparkle that Rita has, because, let me turn it this way, Rita is just glorious, and when I take photographs with my camera, I just cannot capture the sparkle in Rita's diamonds. And just, I can't tell you how amazing this pattern was to knit up. And at nighttime, as I was knitting, just this, the sparkle's distracting me now. Just glorious. I cannot tell you how much I loved knitting this pattern, and I am so excited to wear these socks. I think these actually might be my favorite socks I have ever knit. And they're so sparkly. I'm lost. I'm just lost because they are so, so beautiful. Anyway, let's get back to Rita and Cyril, because I'm distracted by the sparkle that is this gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. Anyway, these are a beautiful, well-written pattern, Rita, by Danielle George of Little Bobbins, and they are just so soft, and I can finally wear them along with fiance Cyril. So Cyril and Rita. And a funny thing is that I actually finished my Rita socks before I finished my Cyril socks, because I started these on Valentine's Day, and I believe the day after Valentine's Day, Danny entrusted me with the pattern for Rita. I finished off my first Cyril sock, and then I started knitting Rita, and of course I wanted to finish both of my Rita socks so that I would have it done in time for Danny's release. And then I finished my second Cyril on the 13th of March. So started February 14th, finished March 13th, a month to do these, with other things happening, including the lovely, lovely Rita that, I am so excited to wear these. So I love these socks. I am absolutely loving the Vintage Love Story collection, and I am crossing my fingers that I might have the opportunity to test knit the third pattern, because really it comes down to the fact that I am just too impatient to wait until April to see what Danny has in store for us, because these two gorgeous patterns, can you imagine what the third one is going to look like? I cannot wait. But until then, I am going to just admire the gloriousness of the sparkle that is Rita, and the softness and classic look of Cyril. Operation Sock Drawer is so well underway. Before I stop talking about socks, I just wanted to mention that I loved using this Toasted Marshmallow colorway so much that Diane had some more in her Elm Tree Yarns shop on Etsy. I did buy another skein because it was just such a fun colorway to work with, and the sparkle. And there may be a very, very special colorway that Diane has dyed up for me that I might be able to share next week on Brown Paper Packages. But for now, you know, this is on my way, and then there'll be something else that's very, very special coming too. The next project I'm going to share with you this week is my brioche ponchology, and this has been on the needles for a little bit. It was a project that I had been wanting to do for a very, very long time, and I am almost done. Not quite, but I am in the home stretch for sure. And if you've tuned in before, you have seen this project. This is the one where I accidentally did the wrong color up here, but I'm really quite pleased that I did. And then I went to the turquoise, and then I got into the sand pit. And I was stuck in the sand pit for a very, very long time until the second half of this week when I finally got into the pink, and I am now in the pink and blue, out of the pink and blue into the straight pink. And if you look there, you will notice that part of it doesn't have a needle attached, part of it does, because I am currently in the bind off section. So I have this much left to bind off in I-cord, and I have already bound off all of this in the I-cord. So not quite a finished object, but really, really close. I finished the last of the brioche section last night and decided to get half of the I-cord done, but I went a little past half because it was a little bit addictive. And a lot of people would think this is an epic bind off. It's not been very bad, actually. I've been enjoying it. The epic bind offs are the ones where you have a picot edge that the picot is like every third stitch. That is an epic bind off. But this is just a nice relaxing I-cord bind off, I'm finding. You will notice that I have switched to my signatures for this part. Previously, I had been using my Looka needles, and the reason I used those was mainly because of the fact that I had several lengths of cord that I was able to attach. And I talked a little bit about the cords a couple of weeks ago. I tried to switch to my signatures, but I found that the cord on the signatures was too flimsy or too flexible. This one is a little bit more rigid, as you can tell. And the great thing about these cords and it being a convertible was that I was able to switch out the length. So when I started at the neck, I needed a much smaller cord, and as I went down, I needed to expand and get a little bit longer. However, when I was still in the bottom of the sand trap, I was getting a little bit annoyed with my needles for a few reasons, and I know a lot of people love these needles. They're not my go-tos. They were convenient. They were great for not having the brioche stitches slip off the needles, for sure, because the wood gave it a little bit more grip. But I did find, being on a large project and I kept having to do this readjusting of my cord, which was really annoying. And I was finding the texture was bothering my fingers after a while. And maybe it was from using a thicker wool than I'm usually used to. And just the feel is a little bit different than the metal needles. But at one point I was getting really quite frustrated, and I decided to switch out to my signatures, which I did. The cord still was a bit of a pain, although I'll have to say for the bind off, it's fairly it's good. But and I'm using one of my Haya double pointed needles to help me with the bind off rather than binding off with both of these needles. Well, I did start binding off last night, and I probably could have finished if I had stayed up into the wee hours of the night. I didn't want to quite have this as a finished object yet because, of course, I want to block it and present it properly next week rather than saying, look what I finished last night, and then having it look not quite as nice as it could. So I have left these stitches here for when I'm uploading and editing today. I'll work away on the I-cord, and next week I will have a lovely poncho to share with you, a ponchology to share with you. And a couple of notes about this pattern other than my needle frustration. One thing that I found interesting about this pattern is that the pattern itself calls for worsted weight yarn, but Suzanne Summer, who's the designer in her sample, and she looks very cute in her sample, has used DK weight yarn. So now that I am almost finished, I'm kind of wishing I had used a DK. I did do the large size, and I am very worried that it is going to be super, super, super way too big on me. So especially if I block it by soaking it, because at this point I'm a little bit afraid it might look like a dress and go down to my knees if I block it. And if I do soak it, I will make sure that I don't block it too aggressively. I may just decide to steam block it because I really am afraid of it growing too much. But I'll decide that over the week, and especially once I've got it bound off, I'll have a better idea of how it looks. What I might do is steam block it first, see how that looks, and if I don't like how it's come out, then maybe I will wet block it. But this is going to take a few days to dry, I'm sure. But it is looking pretty good. I did have a little bit of a problem down in the pink section where I did stitch wrong. I counted something wrong, and it was up a little bit further, and I knew it was something. It was in the front too. It was something I knew that I would see, and I decided to tink back about 4 brioche rows, so that's about 8 rows, to correct it. If it had been in this section, I probably would have tried to fudge it, but because it was in the very bottom where it's got that chevron detail, and one of the chevrons started facing the wrong way, I decided to go back and be a little bit of a perfectionist about it, mainly because I knew that if once I got it all done, I hated it, I would not go back and redo it, and then I'd be not wanting to wear it as much. So I decided that it was a lot better to spend a couple of hours going back, getting it properly done, and then actually finishing it and wearing it. So this is going to be super, super cozy. It already feels like a huge blanket. It will be great for throwing on those chilly April mornings when you're not sure what the weather's going to be like, and then you can easily take it off, have a t-shirt underneath, and I have an almost finished garment because I think this is definitely, even though it doesn't have sleeves, it's a garment for me. But I'm very, very pleased that I've got this almost done, and next week I will share it as a finished object for sure. And that's what I got up to this week on my week off in knitting, and yes, I think it was a lot. This week, the mailman was very good to me and brought me some lovely packages that I am excited to share with you. And one of the packages he brought was from Fripperies and Bibelot, or Fripp and Bib. And I had some stitch markers that Scout had taken off of my knitting table. She just took the container in her mouth and she destroyed the container. And I came home and found all my stitch markers unharmed on the carpet, but the tin was mangled. So I ordered an empty tin and I asked if Sarah would write cherry blossom on the back because her handwriting is just so much neater than mine. And along with that order, I also got some more Ringos. So I did buy some extra large love hearts, and I just wanted some bigger stitch markers. So I ordered love hearts in extra large, and I also ordered the lavender garden, so some purple ones in extra large, and I just love the purple rings and the pretty beads on each ring. So I now have, I think, 3 sets of the extra large. Another thing that Sarah had in the shop that I thought was quite a good idea, these are the all sorts. And the great thing about the all sorts is they are all sorts of sizes. So there is one of the jumbo rings, which sometimes we need these. We don't need a lot of them, but sometimes we need them. There are a couple of the large, there are some minis, and then there are some regular Ringos as well. And we always know that when I do this, they fall on the ground. But just all different colors, all sorts of colors, and this is a great spot to put maybe some of the ones that I'm not sure where they go, which one they belong to. I do try to keep them in the tins, if I can keep the tins in one piece and away from Scout. But sometimes Sarah sends like a little bag with an extra one, so that's a good spot for that to be. And I've just dropped another Ringo. I always drop Ringos when I share these. So anyway, that was the all sorts. And then I've got a little bit of a spoiler alert here. Sarah does a club, and this month's club is, I think it's called Peeping Bulbs. And those poor bulbs, they keep coming up and keep getting snowed on. And this is the Progress Keeper that goes along with it. So I think there's the bulb, and then the green, and then the flower is about to come up. And I think my favorite one is this one. It's got a little light pink bead on it, and then it's sort of got a almost like a titanium platinum-y kind of ring on it. So not gold, not silver, not quite rose gold, but closer to rose gold. And then there's lots of brown ones and red ones, and they all have little colors on them, sort of like you never know what your magical garden is going to come up with in springtime, especially if you've planted some fresh bulbs in the fall. So all those little surprises. So that was what was in the Peeping Bulbs Ringo Club and that was, I think it might have been 32, but I could be completely wrong on the number. But anyway, I did get some Ringos. And I also bought these beautiful little Progress Keepers. And I was debating whether to get them as, aren't they nice and sparkly? I was trying to figure out whether to get them as stitch markers or Progress Keepers. And I decided to go with the Progress Keepers so that I could then pin them on my knitting as I went along and have a beautiful rainbow. And I wasn't sure what to expect, but these are actually a really nice glass crystal, and they're fairly substantial in the weight, and they have all of the gorgeous rainbow colors in there. So I was quite pleased, and then I, of course, as often happens, wished I had also bought the stitch markers too, but these will be enough. That's all I need. And I can always stick them on a Ringo and use them as a stitch marker as well. but or on a bulb or something like that where I can put it on my knitting. If I'm using a very, very small needle, I can put the lobster claw also on a needle as well. But that was one of the nice little extras I bought myself. And when I got this package, I got a really good laugh because Sarah wrapped my package in a dog tissue wrap, which of course I had shared with her the fact that Scout had gotten a hold of a tin and destroyed the tin. So the humor of receiving a dog tissue wrapped order from Frippin' Bib did not escape me. And look at that cute little golden retriever or lab, one or the other. So my Frippin' Bib package. So a fun package, and all I have to do now is make sure I put it far enough in on the knitting table that Scout does not take anymore. Because I have to say, the cherry blossom was not an isolated incident. Well, at least the mangling of the case, that was an isolated incident. The carrying off of my stitch markers, this has become a bit of a problem. The next package is from the Wool Barn, and these are going to be more the traditional colors. Well, I did share the Tropicana, those brights, they were so fun, and I wished I had bought 2 packages of them because, oh, can you imagine the bright stripy socks that you could make out of those? Oh, I had the opportunity to buy 2. I only bought 1, kicking myself. But that's because I bought some other things as well. And I did buy some other minis, and I bought some more of the demure colors from Wool Barn. So this is just a regular classic mini set, and this is sugared almonds. Just nice soft Easter colors, remind me of Easter eggs. We've got Easter coming up in a couple of weeks. I was just tempted a little bit by that. It's much better than buying chocolate, right? Less calories and much higher in fiber, better roughage. And then this is the Twist Sock Minis, and this is the Signatured Speckles set. And again, nice soft Eastery colors that, of course, the reflection from outside is taking away from. And I don't want to take them out of the package for the minis. I like to keep them together. The next 2 things that I have to share from Wool Barn were both pre-orders, and I believe the pre-orders were put up again last week, so I don't know whether they might still be available. And one of the pre-orders I got was Sugar Rush, and this is on the cashmere sock base, and it had an off-white mini that went with it. And I do love that sort of pink and cream colored yarn. It's just such a fun one to knit with, and I've been wanting to try the cashmere sock for a very long time, so I was able to get Sugar Rush on the cashmere. So that was something that I definitely wanted. And then the next color is not going to be much of a surprise as to why I wanted this. This is called Rose Garden, and cream base with pink and green, and I do love my pink and green combos. So this is Rose Garden on Twist Sock, and it has a gorgeous little Dusty Rose mini that went along with it, and I could not resist. I do kind of wish this was on the cashmere base, but I absolutely adore the colorway. I will take it on any base I can take it on. And so one can never have enough Wool Barn in their stash. I think I don't have a huge Wool Barn stash, but I do have some, and you know what? I need to start knitting it because it is such gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. And that was what came from the Wool Barn. That was my Monday. That was a pretty good package to get on Monday. So 3 sets of minis and 2 beautiful skeins with minis as well. A very good way to start a Monday. The next thing I'm going to share with you, I received in the mail on Tuesday, and Tuesday was a beautiful mail day. and I received a wonderful package from Jules of So Sweet Violet, and there were a couple of extra little butterfly clips in there that I had ordered that I'm going to be sending to my sister-in-law and my niece to go along with her dress, which we still need to get to her. And there was also something very, very special that I had seen in the shop and decided that that would be very beautiful on my wall. Now these are very, very breakable, so I'm going to have some crinkling happening because they have been stored in the tissue all week so that they didn't break, because I definitely wanted to share these on the podcast. And Jules had done some of her hexes, and she made a beautiful little flower out of the hexes and then stamped the center hexie with a heart stamp, and then she put it in a little frame. And it's going to be hard to not get the glare. There we go. So this is one of the hexie flowers that I bought. And it is just so, so tiny. When I opened it, I was amazed at how tiny those stitches really, really are. So this was the blue and purple one that I bought. And I bought two because I'd like to sort of hang them together. I really wish I had bought three because things always look great in threes, but I also didn't want to push it too much. I could always maybe see if I can get another one. And if I tell you the color that I would want my third one, you would laugh. Yellow. And this is the gorgeous pink one that I got. So I have this one. And this one. So to me, I think the yellow would be, a yellowy orange would be a perfect third as a trio. But for now, there will be the two, and because it's got the glass background, it'll look really nice on one of the walls. And I'm trying to decide between putting this in my office, which has a blue wall, and it's called $5 blue because the Canadian $5 bill is blue, and or up in my bedroom, which is purple. So my walls are purple, my ceiling is green, and the purple in my room is called Wild Orchid. So it's Benjamin Moore, both of them. And so I'm thinking that I might put that in my room, or as I said, in my office. I have a nice little wall by my computer. It's sort of a corner where the closet is, that as I'm working on the computer and editing, if I were sitting in my rocking chair in there, I would have a lovely view of these hexes, and that's what you get these things for, so that you can enjoy them and see them as part of your daily life. And those are two spaces where I would see them frequently and really feel some appreciation towards the making that Jules does. And the back of these says So Sweet Violet, and she shows you the inner workings of how she does them. But oh my gosh, so much work to get these. I don't know, they just, the idea of doing these flummoxes me. So one day it'd be nice to learn. But for now, I will enjoy Jules's handiwork as I often do. Her sewing is just so spectacular. Tuesday truly was a magical mail day. Not only did I get that gorgeous package from Jules with her lovely floral hexes, but I also got an amazing package from Emma of the Vanilla Squirrel. And when I got the envelope, I think I stared at the envelope for 20 minutes before I opened it, and I took photographs, and it was just one of the most beautiful envelopes I have ever seen. She decorated it up. She had my name in the center an address in really fancy script, and then she had two sparkly banners down the side, and then she had beautiful sparkly lace around the top of my address, and it was just something to behold. It was absolutely amazing, and I really carefully cut the envelope open because it's one of those envelopes, it's just so well just presented that I wanted to keep it. And then inside that parcel were 2 little wrapped packages with just pure magic inside. And what I ordered from Emma of the Vanilla Squirrel were knitting fairies, because recently I've been having a few too many things where I've had to tink back and go back and fix mistakes. So I thought by having a knitting fairy that I would maybe make a few less mistakes. And this one has actually been hanging on the corner of my picture. So this one is for down here in the area that I primarily knit. And then I bought this gorgeous pink one, and she will go up in my sewing / knitting 3rd floor craft room. And just these, oh my gosh, they are just so lovely, and they have gorgeous wings on them, and the wings are so soft. And I did notice that Emma has made mermaids that she's been showing on her Instagram feed. Too cute. And these are just so well made. They have a little string on the back. So this one has been hanging over me. I did make the one little mistake when I was doing my brioche ponchology, but I was able to fix it without too much difficulty. So just a little bit of, she helped me make a good knitting decision. And just beautiful, beautiful little knitting fairies. And when I saw the pink and the blue, I couldn't decide between the two, so I decided that they both had to come live with me. And as I said, one will be down here and one will be upstairs, guarding over my knitting to make sure that I don't make any knitting mistakes. But so cute. I love them. So that, and they smell, that doesn't sound good. They smell nice. They smell like lavender. They smell beautiful. So when I say they smell really nice. And these are my lovely knitting fairies. And that was my mail week. And I'd have to say it was a pretty good one, for sure. And that leaves me with an empty basket with a star at the bottom. I forgot to tell you that around each of these fairies were these little cut out stars. So it was a star mail week for sure. It's now time for some bits and bobs, and apparently I had a good knitting week, so lots of knitting got done. I was very happy to get some things off the needles, and I'm so happy to almost have my brioche ponchology off the needles, and I'm starting to think about putting a sweater on next. So I'm trying to decide between a few sweater patterns that I might tackle next. And one of those patterns I've been considering is the confetti sweater. I love striped sweaters, so confetti has been on my to-do list for a little while. Another one I've thought of doing is the boxy sweater. So I've got my patterns already printed out, just a matter of finding the time to do them. And another one I've been considering doing is the chaussee shrug. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it is a brioche sort of cardigan that I've had on my to-do list for a couple of years now, and I've had the pattern for a couple of years, so that is one. And then the other one that I have really been wanting to do also for a couple of years, and I must admit, I think I have about 4 sets of yarn combinations that I have purchased to make this, is the hoodie shawl cardigan. And this is also, those last 2 are also by Suzanne Sommer, who designed the brioche ponchology. So those are 4 that I'm considering. I am also thinking I might want to do a timely cardigan Ravello. I'm really wanting to do a striped garment, so I'm not sure whether confetti will take the top of the list or whether hooded shawl cardigan might do that. I want some stripes. I like stripes in my life. So, Anyway, that is what I'm thinking of. I've got lots of combinations of yarn that I can go through and figure out what I'm going to do. But first off, I do want to get my brioche ponchology off the needles and then put another big project on. And then of course I've got the socks going. So socks are always a great project. And I believe there will be a test knit of a shawl coming on very, very soon as well. Isaac was successful in getting his lifeguarding this week, so he went out every single day this week from 9:30 to 6:30. He was in the pool. The huge problem is that he was in a pool that used bromine. And when I used to lifeguard and instruct, whenever I was in a bromine pool, I found I would react. And in fact, I used to have a beautiful bangle that had been my grandmother's, and I lived in Australia for a year, and I taught swimming at a place called Ripples. And the bromine reacted so badly with the gold that it actually popped open the solid gold bangle. And it's never been right since, unfortunately. I had it fixed a couple of times, and it would just, whenever I would get in the water, either chlorine or bromine, it would just pop back open again. So a little bit of a disappointment, but it's amazing how that made it weak. However, Isaac had a very bad reaction to the bromine after being in the pool from 9:30 to 6:30 most of those days. And in fact, he came home looking like he had a sunburn, except for the fact he was in an indoor pool all day long, and just his skin was red, hot, and a very bad reaction. I react by breaking out in hives. He just looked like he had a sunburn, but so he's hoping that when he does get lifeguarding, I'd like to get him to take his instructing course as well. When he does get that, hopefully he'll be in pools that have chlorine, because even though the chlorine is not necessarily good for the environment, for Isaac and I, it's a lot better for our skin, because we do seem to have a bit of a bromine either allergy or sensitivity for sure. But anyway, he did get his National Lifeguard Service, which is the top lifeguard award. He needs to be 17 to actually be on deck, but he's 16, he's got his award, and he can start maybe looking for getting his qualifications up a bit more, so getting the instructors, and then he will be able to be a lifeguard, and that's an exciting thing, and a great job to have as well, although I always preferred instructing over the lifeguarding. A little bit more active and definitely fun. Nathaniel, what did he do this week? He went to my mom's for a few days, and he went skating, he went to the movies. He had a fun week, and which meant that I had a very quiet week, which was good. So he was home for the first half of the week, and then he went there for the second half of the week. Came home yesterday, and he had been swimming. He had done lots of fun things and had a very enjoyable week. And Scout has been into a few of my goodies off of my knitting table. I found my hand cream outside in the backyard, along with a little thing of David's tea and another package of Ringo stitch markers. Luckily, the tins weren't mangled. However, Scout and I are going to have a little bit of a chat about not taking my things. My eyes were definitely green this week, green with envy. They literally are green, but they were certainly green with envy after watching all of the footage coming from Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and of course the Country House Retreat happened this past week. So watching all of this stuff on Instagram, even though I was at home and having a lovely week off, knitting, which is always a lovely thing. It's just that, you know, I didn't have FOMO, I had IDMO. I definitely missed out. I really, really want to go to Edinburgh Yarn Festival one day, and I've got March 2021 in mind as when I want to do that, and the Country House Retreat. But yes, my eyes were definitely green from watching everybody and seeing all their lovely purchases and all the wonderful people who just converged on Edinburgh. That must have been an interesting place to be for a couple of days for sure. And then it snowed. So that was a little bit strange. I don't think I would have enjoyed that aspect of it, but from what I see from the pictures, it looked really, really pretty. But yes, I was feeling a little bit of the green-eyed monster this past week. Another thing, my brother has gone to Florida and has been putting his videos up on Instagram as well, and he's been chasing alligators. So I'm not too envious about the chasing alligators bit, but seeing the nice warm sunshine there, and then of course seeing everybody in Edinburgh, my green eyes were definitely green this week with envy. But that's how it goes. As I said, I got to stay home, sit by the fire many days, watch the snowflakes dancing upwards, which was very strange. But I got to do lots of knitting, so that was a very good thing for sure. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to share on Bits and Bobs this week. And next week, back to work, back to the grind, back to reality. Thank you so much for joining me on the comfy red couch this week. I hope that you've had a chance to sit down, relax, refresh, spend some necessary time with that work in progress that you've been working on. And if you were one of those lucky ones that got to go to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, I hope that you had a fantastic time and that you had a safe and uneventful journey home from the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. And I look forward to seeing all the pictures of what you got up to while you were there on your Instagram feed, and knit something beautiful with all those things that you got. But if you had to stay home and have IDMO like I did, definitely missing out, I hope that you had a wonderful week. And I wish everybody a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you next week on the Comfy Red Couch. Bye. Now time for a little bit more tea. Scout and I have just had a little bit of a chat. This past week, I found several interesting things outside in the backyard. Yes, I did. A tin of ring-outs, luckily not mangled. A tin of David's tea. Yes. And some hand cream. Is that what you would like? You'd like me to put some hand cream on you? She's been stealing stuff off of my knitting table and taking it to the backyard. Are you having a knitting and tea party without me, Scout? You can't take it out there. The Toronto raccoons, they'll make off with that kind of stuff.